So I've taken a chunk of a semi-frame, nice thick seat channel, and I've cut parts off of that. I wanted to build a front mount to hold a winch, so I have the ability to pull in front. So basically used my ichrometer and guessed and put a couple bolts through it, just tacked it with my crappy little welder to hold it on the truck until I could actually go and use Leroy's real welder, which will give it good penetration to actually attach parts securely, make two pieces into one instead of just kind of tacking stuff on top of another part. So lots and lots of welding. I have made a few of these, a few different designs, and tested them to the point of failure, so I know where I need to reinforce and where the stresses are going to be and stuff. So with all that in mind, I've designed this one to basically accommodate for the failures of my other ones. There are quite a few situations. For instance, somebody is rolling down the highway and they slide out a little bit and get off the side of the road. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's actually easier just to pull them straight back up the trail they made, back onto the road, and they continue driving. Sometimes you don't really have the ability to turn around, and even if you hook a tow strap to the front and try to pull them, sometimes you don't have the ability to safely back up on that road. There might not be a shoulder, or there might be a lot of oncoming traffic or something like that. So the ability to just pull from the front is definitely helpful. Additionally, I can use the front hooks or the front winch to secure myself to another vehicle or to a stationary object so I can get additional, pulling power from the rear and vice versa, whatever the situation calls for. So having the front winch, especially on a tow truck, something that's actually going to be using it regularly, uh, provided the situation requires it, is definitely going to be super helpful. It's going to open up my options a ton as to what I can do when I arrive on scene. So I've thought about this for a long time. I've figured out kind of what I wanted to do, and then I just have to basically put the plan together and make it happen. Gussets are very important for the corners. It takes a lot of stresses away because basically that flat plane is a giant piece of leverage, and that gusset on either side is going to take away all of that leverage of the winch trying to pull and bend. It's going to take that flat plane and reduce the length of how much it's actually trying to bend, because it's going basically straight back to that frame there.
This one with a short piece of rod.
Super lightweight. Doesn't really, add any additional weight, but it actually adds a whole lot of additional structure. Gotta weld them on both sides and do multiple passes on the welds so I can actually get good penetration and build up a very, very secure attachments.
Alright, this is 10 by 4.5, standard bolt pattern for most heavier winches. So after I weld this on, any winch of basically like 6,000 pounds or more should be able to bolt right on.
Alright, so I've got it welded up, but not really cleaned up. And now, after a little bit more work, I'm going to be testing it just on this junk van that's sitting around. A tow truck is about to come and pick this thing up for scrap, so I want to pull on it and just see how it does. Look for any sort of flex or anything at all in the mount, and make sure that it's going to be able to pull without any issues. So what I'm doing here is just a single straight line pull, one cable out, making sure that the winch, the bolts, the winch, the cable, everything is capable of pulling the vehicle. This is a super light vehicle, it's just a van, but I'm not pulling it forward and backward and neutral, I'm pulling it straight sideways to give it as much extra resistance as I can. simulating a snowbank or it's stuck in mud or something, you know, gotta pull it over something, whatever. And we'll just see how it does. Take a note of a couple things I'm doing here. Okay, we're gonna lock it in gear. And before I do anything, I'm going to open the hood there, so if anything does snap and come back at the vehicle, it's not going to go bust through the windshield. The angle of the hood is going to reflect angular energy into the engine bay and not kill the operator inside of the vehicle. But I'm also standing far enough out of the way where I'm past the distance of the length of the cable, so nothing's going to hit me anyway if something snaps. I have the remote that I'm pulling with. So it's pulling just fine. I'm not seeing any flex or bending. I'm not hearing any creaking or cracking from any of the welds or anything like that. And as you can see, it's pulling that van just fine, no problem. But those are also the free tires that are going to roll a little bit. So let's go over to the tires that are locked in park and just give it a tad more resistance there and pull it back to the same angle it was sitting at before. There's a little bit more weight on this end with the engine, the park, and everything else, so it's a little bit harder of a pull, but as you can see, it does absolutely just fine. But this is a light vehicle. It's not really any work for a 12,000 pound winch. And I'm not really testing the winch, I'm testing the capabilities of the bumper I just built. So let's put it to a real test. I want to make sure that this thing is strong enough that when I show up to do anything with it, this truck is going to slide before anything on the winch breaks. So what I'm doing right here, well, first I'm going to pop that hood open again, so in case something snaps or a shackle comes back or anything, it's not going to be destroying the windshield. But this is a triple line pull where I'm going from the winch to the tree, back to the bumper on the hook, and back to the tree. So I'm splitting the load that it's pulling into 3. So 12, 24, 36, this potentially has the ability to pull 36,000 pounds. But the trade-off there is you're pulling on 3 cables with the same speed of the winch, so it's reducing your pulling speed by 3. But the bumper is doing absolutely fantastic. There's nothing bending, there's no flex, everything is going good. And we're going to come back to this back tire here. This truck is locked in park, it's about 15,000 pounds. And you can see it's skipping. So this winch bumper and this winch, especially with the triple line pull, has absolutely no problem sliding my truck before anything breaks. And that's what I want. I want my truck to slide. I want this bumper to be so secure that my truck is going to slide forward before anything on that bumper comes apart and flies and becomes a hazard to anybody in the area. So that's fine. We're all good there. I am happily pleased with the strength and the performance of this bumper so far. And if I can slide my truck forward, any of the vehicles I pull out should pretty much be no problem for this thing.
So here's the other thing that I wanted to do is if you notice these 2 hooks, this one is considered a closed loop system and this is an open loop system. Now I want closed loop hooks on here so nothing accidentally falls off, or I can adjust the truck or move it around and it can't like slip off. So what I did was I actually put open loop hooks on there, but I put them so close, basically just work it in there and I can use that. It's not going to accidentally fall off. And it comes out pretty easily too. These are not sharp edges, so it's not going to cut anything. And there you go. Same thing with hooks. Can't accidentally fall off. So there we go. You know, if you that can actually accidentally go somewhere. But normally not. You got enough weight. Whatever else is attached to the end of this, it's not really going to go anywhere. But I just prefer the closed loop systems better. You got a strap with an open end on it, just a toe strap with the loop. Slide it right on there and you can still use it. And fat chance it's going to accidentally come off on its own anymore.